Well, hey guys. Good evening. It is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. Great to be with you. This is the show for Tuesday, May 12th, 2026. Getting out a little bit late because it's been a little crazy today. But this is Tuesday's show. So welcome everyone. Very first time you're joining me, big thank you and a warm welcome. If you've been here at least one time or hundreds of times before, I want to say thank you, but I also want to say the words welcome back. Thank you so much for choosing to be here and to make inspirations for your life a daily part of your day so that you can become a better version. All right, guys. So if you haven't heard about believemeachieve.com, feel free to check that out. And by the way, I've got my RO water here. Feel free to get yourself a snack, drink, or the beverage. And this is really cool because has my RO water, it has lemon in it. And it is pretty yummy. Really, really good. All right, guys, let's kick this show off. All right. So this week's master topic, in case you're wondering, we're going to get to in just a moment. But this is Inspirations for Your Life, and I am John C. Morley. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm an engineer, marketing specialist, video producer, podcast host, coach, keynote speaker, graduate student, passionate lifelong learner, and now very grateful to be a published author. Remember, I think a lot of people think things are going to happen like just immediately. But the thing is, they don't happen immediately. They happen after we have intention. So I think that's a very important thing to understand. And today we're talking about attention stabilization. This is series 5, show 20, episode number 4. And I said it is Tuesday. Number 1, focus duration becomes more predictable and attention stops jumping randomly and begins holding long enough to complete meaningful work. And I think a lot of people out there, they want to achieve something meaningful, but then they get stuck, right? They get stuck in this doldrum and they don't know what to do. They don't know what to say, and they get so frustrated that they're not even sure like what's supposed to happen. All right. So I think that's a very important thing to be aware of, and that's a lot of what our show is. Just like my book, Trained to Driven, it's about becoming aware of your life. All right, becoming aware of your life. Number 2, guys, task completion becomes more consistent. Work stops stalling mid-process and starts reaching clean completion cycles. I think that's an important thing for us to know is that when we can move through a process easily and we don't have interruptions, we can just find that it's easier to do it, right? It's easier to do it. And that's something that I think is very priceless. But when it happens, you're like, oh my gosh, this is like pretty amazing, right? And I'm like in sync. I'm like, synchronicities are happening. Like I'm in the flow. And that's a great, great feeling, guys. A really, really great feeling. Let's move on to the next point. Number 3, input filtering becomes automatic. Unnecessary information gets ignored without conscious effort. Maybe there's certain people that, I don't know, maybe they are rude to you or maybe they do the wrong things and they're not good energy for you. So your body's like, okay, I need to ignore this kind of person. I need to stand clear of this kind of person. That's a very important thing. Okay. And I think that's something that a lot of people have to, pay attention to. Number 4, guys, work boundaries become clearer. Tasks stop bleeding into each other and you regain separation. When everything sort of merged together, it's like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to do this? Right. I think that's a very important thing to note is that there are lots of things out there, right? There are lots of stuffs going on. And so when we can figure out, what's happening, I think life can be pretty amazing. Okay. And that's something a lot of people don't understand. Okay. They don't understand it because they're basically in the denial stage. Okay. The denial stage is when you do stuff, but you think you're doing the right thing because of perception that you have, but the perception you have is wrong. And ladies and gentlemen, our perceptions become our reality. I've said this to you guys before. This is not new at all. But what does it mean to you? I think it means that we need to be cognizant of what we're doing. We need to think about every moment in our life. Okay. We need to think about that. I think that's a part that most people miss. They miss it in life. Number 5, guys, execution interruptions decrease. Workflow is no longer constantly broken by the external triggers. Could be something somebody says, what they do, or maybe just the way they look at you. And all these things can create a trigger. Triggers can be good, they can be bad. But I think when we start to recognize what a trigger is, we know that life is different, guys. We know that life is different. And I think that's an important thing for us to realize, that life is different. Okay. Life is different because we're becoming aware of the situation. We're becoming aware of the situation. I think that's a very important thing. Okay. We're becoming aware of the situation. The situation to where we are right now and the situation to maybe where we are going, right? That's a very important thing to understand. Okay. Number 6, guys, cognitive load becomes manageable. Thinking feels lighter because fewer things compare and compete at once. And I think when we can just look at where we are right now and we can say, you know what, things are flowing, like they're starting, they're stopping, but there's a nice rhythm in life. Okay. That's important, guys. Okay. That's very, very important. And I'll tell you something. It comes down to you applying yourself. It comes down to you noticing what's around you, right? Noticing. Maybe you're going to say to me, John, I don't really know what's around me, but all I know is I got to do this or I got to do that. And, that's perfectly okay. But I think we have to just stop long enough to be able to smell the coffee, the flavors of life, right? Too many people are rushing each moment that they're not living it. I think that's an important thing. Number 7, guys, task switching becomes intentional. Movement between tasks becomes deliberate instead of reactive, instead of compulsive. We do it naturally in a flow. We connect, we disconnect, but we do it in a way that's pretty amazing. And the results become steadier over time. And the results stop fluctuating and they begin that stabilization across all of our work sessions. And we get that compoundedness. Number 9, guys, attention recovery becomes faster. After distraction, focus returns without long reset times, because now we're better. Now we understand that this is what we have. We know how to learn. And that's something I think that drives a lot of people crazy because, they've been doing something their whole life and then suddenly like an epiphany happens. Okay. An epiphany happens. I think that's a very important thing to understand. A very important thing to understand. I can tell you that life is happening. I can tell you that you are learning every single day. And when you learn every single day, you put things together. It's not like it happens all at once. Okay. You start to have these amazing, I'm going to say, things in your life. And these things in your life are able to take you to an entirely new level. Okay. A level that maybe I'm going to say is going to change you. But again, I want to tell you that it does not happen overnight. It does not happen overnight. And I say that to you because many people will be disappointed because they don't get what they want immediately. Okay. I think that's a very important thing to realize, right? That's happening. And when that's happening, life is changing. You're learning, guys, every single day of your life. And when you do something wrong, you learn not to do that, right? But we have to take the data that we have received and we have to respond accordingly. Number 10, guys, workflow. Workflow becomes less fragmented. Work begins to feel continuous instead of scattered. It feels like it's just connected. Number 11, guys, priority structure becomes clearer. Important tasks naturally rise above low value activity. I think when you notice that, that's when you're starting to get it. That's when you're starting to realize that this is something pretty amazing, guys. But again, I don't want to tell you that it's going to happen, overnight. I don't want to tell you that. All right. So I think when we can understand, what's happening or why things are happening, we have a different appreciation. Number 12, guys, mental fatigue, it just decreases. Basically, less switching creates more sustained energy, and it gives us that natural, lively flow. Number 13, execution rhythm becomes stable, and work develops a predictable pace and a flow that we can actually grow with. Number 14, information intake becomes controlled. Only relevant input is processed, reducing overload. Because, we hear a lot of things in our life, but many of those things are not going to be helpful to us, right? Many of them will not be helpful to us at the current moment. I think that's something, again, that a lot of people, they just don't get. They don't understand. Okay. And that's a big part. It's a very big part. It's a part that I think a lot of people would be saying, I don't know. I don't really understand it. And I want to tell you that you can understand it if you just believe in it. All right. It might not be something that, you're going to get an answer on immediately, but you will start to become more knowledgeable. You'll gain wisdom and insight. And that will lead you to different paths that are right for you. But you got to pay attention to them, and you got to slow down and understand where are these paths in life and where are they actually taking me. I think that's an important piece that many people just kind of glance by. Number 15, guys, planning becomes more reliable and plans begin matching real execution more closely. Maybe you worked on a project and it's like the project's not going where you want to go. And the reason is because, let's say you don't know how to use all the tools, right? You don't know how to use all the tools. And because you don't know how to use all the tools, you're frustrated with everything you're doing. Now, we could be talking about tools that are one thing. And I will tell you that the more you appreciate something like this, the more that you will grow, the more that other people that you're connected with will grow, right? It's this great cycle, and your energy does, does rub off on people, good or bad. Number 16, guys, focus windows become longer. Deep work sessions extend without a breakdown. Now, you still need a break, okay? But you're going to be able to go longer without taking a break. I think that's a very interesting thing, that you can go without taking a break, right? But you still need a break, okay? You still do need a break, no matter who you are, what you're doing. You need a break. You're not Superman. Number 17, guys. Decision clarity improves steadily. Choices become faster and they become more accurate. Task grouping becomes effective. Similar work is handled in organized blocks. And when we can do that, we start to put things into patterns. And when we know a pattern, we can easily replay the actions when we see or hear or sense that pattern. Very similar to a computer. Number 19, guys, output consistency increases and results stop varying widely from task to task. I think a lot of times people get frustrated because, they're trying to finish something, but then they're not using the right tools. They don't understand the tools they're using. And then they keep getting more frustrated because what they're doing is going nowhere. They're going nowhere. And that's a big problem. Number 20, guys, cognitive fragmentation decreases thinking. It becomes more unified. And when that happens, you get less scattered. When you're less scattered, you're using less energy, guys. You're using less energy. And when you ask people, are they organized? They'll probably tell you yes. But somebody who's organized doesn't get tired very easily. They have a balance of what they're doing, right? I think that's a very important thing to actually understand, right? Understanding how that works or what that means can really affect the quality of your life. Number 21, guys, work environment becomes more controlled. External noise seems to have less impact on execution. It's like if you ever had to originally learn how to study, when you first are learning how to study, every little nuance will distract you. As you get better, you learn how to filter out those things that are not necessarily serving you. But when you're starting, this is not an easy thing, guys. It's not an easy thing. And I say that to you because maybe you're trying to do something, but you're not doing it properly. You're skipping ahead. And when you skip ahead, you miss the value of life. You miss the lessons, guys. You miss the lessons. And those lessons might actually be the key to you growing. Somebody once told me, John, if you're not growing, you're dying. Because the more you grow, you don't just grow physically, guys, but you actually grow internally. You grow with your insights. You grow with your body structure. When you grow, you repair organs too. But again, I think most people that get in this loop, they're used to hearing noise and they're used to saying, oh, it's okay. I'll just deal with it. And as much as you want to just deal with it, I commend you. In the beginning, you are really depleting your energy. Now, eventually it can work. But I think in the beginning, I think we need to choose kindness. We need to be kind to ourselves. Okay? If we can be kind to ourselves, then you know what we can do? We can be kind to others. we can be kind to others. And that might sound really crazy, but it's the truth. I know a lot of you are saying to me, John, you don't understand what I'm going through. No, I don't. But I can tell you, we've all had challenges and we've all overcome challenges. I think that's a very viable thing, guys. Learning how to filter out the noise, or what I like to say, I use all the time, is to silence the chattering monkeys in your head. Silence the chattering monkeys in your head, right? I think that's something that maybe you can say to me, John, this works or that doesn't work. But when you know how to silence those chattering monkeys in your head, life gets a new meaning. And what you were working on suddenly changes. It shifts. It changes, it shifts. And as it shifts, we intentionally have to become more aware. If we don't, we disconnect from what we're doing and we're not on track. We're not on track. But if we just become a little bit aware of things, our lives can change. This reminds me of the experiment, I won't get too deep on it, the double slit and single slit science experiment with the particle and the waves. And when somebody watched, it was one thing, and somebody didn't observe, it's another. So when we're aware of something, the properties of an object through the double slit experiment have been said to change. That means they take two different forms based on, well, the condition they're in. So what is, now that I brought this up, the double slit experiment? It's a foundational physics demonstration showing that particles like electrons and light photons behave as both waves and particles. The concept is known as wave-particle duality, is the formal term. And when particles are fired one by one at two narrow parallel slits, they form an interference pattern on a detection screen, indicating they have passed through, but slits simultaneously as waves, right? And so even when fired one at a time, individual particles are detected as localized dots on a screen. If a detector is placed at the slits to determine which slit the particle passes through, the interference pattern vanishes and the particles behave like classical particles. That's wild, guys. And it's the truth. It's the truth. So just observing something, guys, makes it so. So your attention has a lot of power. Number 22, guys. Attention stability improves and focus holds under normal working conditions. Execution becomes more predictable and work outcomes begin following expected patterns. Expected patterns. Workflow interruptions reduce and less disruption leads to smoother progress. Number 24. I think when we hear about, a change, and we know that we're the one that can create that change, it can be scary. I'm not going to lie to you. Number 25, guys, output control improves results and it becomes more intentional and it becomes more structured. So I said it before, when we have two things, consistency and we have structure, we have success. When we know we've done something right and we're getting a result and we duplicate that and we do it consistently and we follow the structure, we will have success. If you bake a recipe today or tomorrow or 50 days from now, that recipe is going to come out the same as long as you use the same ingredients, same cooking environment or similar cooking environment. That's what you get. Number 26, guys, mental structure becomes clearer and thinking organizes itself into cleaner pathways. Number 27, focus becomes more resilient and distraction becomes less long-term impacted. And so number 28, task flow becomes stable and work progresses without constant resets. How many times have you done something at work or wherever you are, and you're like, oh, no, I got to start over again. Okay, got to start. The classic example I use is I was a crew before I became a skipper in sailing. And I had a skipper who was a few years older than me, maybe about 5 or 7, 10 years older than me. And I remember what he wanted me to do. He wanted me to be the weight, so I would sit different places. And the thing I want to talk about reset, it's one time, well, it was more than once, the one skipper I was with, he hit the buoy. And first thing I did was like, hey, Joe, you hit the buoy. No, I didn't. I'm like, yeah, you hit the buoy. He's like, I didn't hit the buoy, so, shut up. And I was like, first of all, I don't like this guy. I don't think I want to crew for him again. And just then, another guy came up with his crew, and he says, we saw you boat 6-1, blah, 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 5s and such, and we're going to protest you. He said, I didn't do anything. He said, you hit the buoy. And he tells me to be quiet, so I don't say anything, but he did hit the buoy. And so like, oh, you got to reround it. So when you reround it, you've got to basically reset. Okay. Number 29, productivity becomes more consistent and output levels stabilize across time. Across time. Number 30, guys, attention stabilization achieves what you want, but focus reaches a reliable and a repeatable state. So when we can get something to be repeatable, we can put it into a process. It breaks down to structure and consistency. If you have structure, you're not consistent, you're not going anywhere. If you're consistent, but you don't have a structure, well, then you might get it once, but you may not get it every time. You're not going to have a pattern of flow. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. Be sure to check out BelieveMeAchieve.com for more of my amazing, inspiring creations. Have yourself a great one and be well, everyone.